I got one more.
Digital.
So the 15th, that's going to go.
Yeah.
Just two hearings.
Mm-hmm.
Workshop.
You could. Normally open an additional 2 weeks. Yeah. We're ready. Yeah. I'll get this party started.
I don't recognize it.
This is a workshop meeting of the Township Committee for Monday, April 1st, 2014. The notice requirements provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting is properly given by transmission to the Asbury Town Press, the Star Ledger, the Independent, and 2 River Times, and by posting at the Middletown Township Municipal Building and filing with the clerk all on January 11, 2015. Committeemen Fiore.
Here.
Committeemen Settembrino. Deputy Mayor Mary. Here. Committeemen Settembrino.
Here.
And Mayor Shuffenberg.
Here.
I'd like everybody to please rise for the Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to request a moment of silence to honor the troops today worldwide defending our freedom and way of life. Thank you. And first on the agenda is a presentation by Good Energy regarding aggregation for residential customers.
If I could just, while the gentlemen are getting up, I met with Good Energy last week and asked them to come in and give a presentation to the committee. It's a program about aggregating energy purchases, particularly in this case electricity, for residential customers. As you know, we do it as a municipality, as a part of a cooperative, but this would be a program totally different than anything we've got now, and this would allow residents to participate in sort of a group purchase, if you will. So I think, Charles, you can really...
Where's Pat first?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Pat Moran. I'm the business administrator with the Middlesex Regional and Services Commission. As part of that job, I'm the administrator of the largest cooperative pricing system in the state of New Jersey. We have over 670 public agencies, from schools to townships to counties to colleges, that are part of that co-op. And we've been doing energy aggregation since the mid-90s, specifically electricity since about 2008. We retained Good Energy as our consultant for our energy aggregation program in 2008, and we recently went back out on an RFP and issued them another contract. And that RFP specifically contained information regarding residential electricity, because now townships can do that on behalf of their residents on an opt-out basis, and give them the opportunity for reasonable savings through our program. The simple part is, as part of a member of our co-op, which Middletown is, that you can work with us directly through the cooperative pricing program to take advantage of these consulting services and move this program forward should you deem it in your interest. And with that, I'll introduce Charles DeCassinger from Good Energy.
Pat, can you hang on 1 second? Folks,
Sure.
if you want to come, there's seats.
Sure.
They did that electronically. If anyone want a hard copy of the presentation by electronically?
Okay, I guess good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of elected officials here, members of the press. Good Energy is a national energy consulting firm specializing in the purchase of electricity, natural gas, renewable energy, and all manner of demand management practices in the energy efficiency realm. Most poignantly for this evening, I'm here to talk about government energy aggregation. which is a growing trend nationally. New Jersey is essentially the fourth or fifth state, depending on how you count them, that now has a law that is enacted in which if a community decides to pass an ordinance or a resolution, I don't know which on your case, to move forward with this, and it actually happens, and there's a purchase, you can save your residents money, essentially because they are buying in bulk. Good Energy have been doing this particular product for the last 3 or 4 years. We currently represent 175 municipalities around the country with savings of about $90 million a year. The current reset of the JCPL, that's your service territory, the reset of the rates, which are good for a year, they're from June to June of every year, shows substantial headroom for savings here for residents. So just to kind of go through the numbers with you a little bit, I think you have something like 22,000 households. And if we decided that 10,000 kilowatt hours a year was the average usage, that's about 220 million kilowatt hours a year. At 1.5 cents, that's about $3.3 million in savings in your community on an annual basis. Statistically, over 90% of that money will be spent in your community. Obviously, Sandy dealt New Jersey a bad deal, and this is money that people need. So it's picking up a lot of traction. I know personally we're talking to over 80 municipalities right now in various stages. I'll only report on the one that will be retaining us next week, which is East Brunswick. But we're talking to a lot of your peer communities up and down the state. When I say peer, I mean of the same level of size. So by the way that rates are done in the state of New Jersey, I can definitively say that there are savings right now through September of 14. So for every month that this is not done, essentially we're giving up about $275,000 a month in savings here. A lot of the communities that are in the 20 to 30,000 household range are very seriously looking at this. It takes some time to develop, so getting the ordinance or the resolution done as early as possible really helps the process. Just by passing an ordinance or a resolution, you're not obligated to anything. By working through their co-op, you're not obligated to their purchasing. Everything will be done on your terms, and if on the day that we do go out for bid and the prices come back, if you don't want it, you don't have to sign it. You stand alone on your own contract, yet through our buying, you will be essentially informally aggregated with our monthly buying groups. So there are significant savings by being aggregated just yourselves, but we intend to have monthly groups probably starting in June. So our first groups will be in June, July, and you can see how by doing it sooner you will be partaking in the savings. I know that Tom's River is going out to bid next week. That's a pretty big community, and we are talking to the 3 or 4 largest municipalities in the state, so I can tell you that they are very seriously considering it. Governments cannot actually make an administrative fee on this or anything. It's expressly written in the law. So really the message here is good government. And remember that people, once this does come back, they will be fully made aware through a mailer and through all sorts of media that they have the option to opt out of this. So if they don't opt out during the 30-day period, they're essentially in. If they're in and they don't like being in this program, they can leave without a penalty. So I also think it's very important to have an awareness campaign to really educate the public during this process. In the other states where this is very successful, which now over 50% of all the households in those states have switched, Ohio and Illinois, they actually vote on it. It's a referendum. 95% of all of our referenda have passed. So there's no vote here, which makes it even trickier, because you have to go out and actually inform the people through whatever your channels are here, whatever the best media mix you have in the region. So we're very experienced at that. We run tons of campaigns. We provide you with all the support. There's no upfront cost to this. We pay for everything. If you actually never sign an energy agreement, we'll never get paid, because we're paid on a price per kilowatt hour on flow. Any questions?
You go first.
With With regard to the program and the residential opt-out, commercial is an opt-in.
Commercial's an opt-in.
Commercial is an opt-in and can add to the size that Middletown contributes to the program.
Right.
Would that potentially add to savings on an annual basis if the offering is larger?
I think that because of the profiles of residential and commercial accounts, and by the way the law is written, that the opt-in for commercial customers, mind you, most of the large commercial customers already have switched or shop and have been shopping for a long time. Because of the 30-day hold, I can't imagine that the commercial price will be attractive. So this really is a program for your residents, because most commercial buyers will strike a price on a day that's good for a few hours and get the best deal. If one of the suppliers, and this happened in the first one here, has to put a commercial price in there and it has to be good for 30 days, well, there's going to be a lot of margin in it, and it's not going to be to their benefit.
What happens to the overall price if, say, 10% of the residential customers opt out?
It's still the same.
Still the same?
Yeah. And the average is about 5 to 7%.
My understanding is that the state does a similar model with one of your pages here, with the energy companies, JCP&L, PSE&G, and Atlantic City Electric, where they strike a fixed rate. Now, clearly, one of my questions would be a variable rate, correct?
No, this will be fixed. And
I understand it'll be fixed, but it's a fixed yearly rate, and then on an annual basis, potentially resets to another fixed rate?
okay, so it would be fixed for the initial term, which would only be benchmarked against known rates, right? Politically, I can't imagine a community that's going to go out there and not be able to demonstrate the savings, so it'll be fixed against that rate. If you decide to renew or extend, it'll have to come back to you. You'll have to decide you want to do it, and that whole opt-out period, so the notice, well, all that consent will have to be out there in the community. So there's no automatic renewal here.
There's no automatic renewal, but my question is, so on an annual basis, as consultants, if right now we were getting, 1.5% savings rate difference, and rates were to rise next year in the state of New Jersey, and that now winds up being, is there a possibility with a fixed rate that the state, through the utility companies now, can actually be lower than the variable cost that you're going to see on an annual basis?
And the reason is because of the way they purchase a third of the expected usage every year, and then they blend the 3 years together and then develop a rate from their prior purchases and from how summer and non-summer rates are done. So summer rates are significantly higher. They have summer and non-summer. I do not see a possibility of that happening between now and September 14th.
My second question has to do with delivery. I realize on the utility bill, because I get many vendors on a probably monthly basis looking for me to change energy suppliers, but I understand that there's a supply and there's a distribution fee, I believe. Now, I believe the supply fee is what we're talking about here.
Yes.
The distribution fee is the fee for the power lines, and the JCP&L is our provider fee. Explain to me that, we've just gone through 2 crisis situations with Hurricane Irene and Hurricane Sandy, and power outages of anywhere from 5 days on the first to upwards of 14 days on the second. Explain how residents will, or in your view, have kind of understood that a municipality making this change isn't causing them any delay in their restoration service.
Right. So by state law, by BPU, customers that choose third-party supply or stay with utility are served indifferently. So it's not as if three lines are down on one street and one person has chosen third-party supply, they'll be treated any differently. That's an obligation of JCPL as a licensed distribution company. Here's another point. JCPL does not make money on supply. It is purchased on an arbitrary auction fashion every year in February for June, and those rates are passed through. They're a simple pass-through. So this does not affect them, it doesn't hurt them. They are the licensed distribution company. You're still going to pay your local charges to them.
Can you talk to us about how this aggregation program affects residential customers that have currently selected a third-party supplier?
Okay, so one of the steps of this is once you pass an ordinance or a resolution, and you retain your consultant, you will open you'll open an agreement with JCPL. And as part of this process and going towards your bidding, JCPL will only supply on the day of the bid those account holders who are not on the third-party supply. So people that have chosen third-party supply will be ineligible, at least at the beginning. If they come off third-party supply during any term during the contract, they can partake at the price for whatever the remaining term is in their option.
Will they be able to tell you how many people are already with a third-party supplier?
They'll tell us everything once you've opened a license distribution.
Now, the opt-out period, as I understood in the presentation I read and asked the administrator, I think is a 30-day period initially. So my question becomes, if 4 months down the road, utility, company X just sends direct mailers through to the residents of Middletown with a rate that is lower than the rate that we have selected, can that resident opt out without paying a fee or penalty, or the municipality opt out without them paying a fee or penalty?
Yes. It'll be on a residential level. So there's 67 markets out there, right, with offers. And these offers have very little savings, and in some cases no savings, and in some cases are very misleading. Once your community is known to them, because I know what they spend to try to market for your residents, this is going to end in your community. So there's a real responsible part of this as well.
What's the process for opting out or opting in?
Opting out, it's a letter you get. There's a sample of it near the back of the presentation. This is the standard form letter. It tells you that your new supplier is going to be this company. Your municipality has chosen them for you. Your savings are X. If you do not want this, send back this little piece here and prepaid postage, and you will be out of the program. If you want to opt in, there are a couple sort of organizational mechanical issues around it. One is, what we'd like to do is through the agreement with JCPL, we're doing this in Ohio and Illinois, we'd like to automate it so that whenever there are new account holders that open an account in your municipality, instead of us having to contact them to opt them in, they'll be sent an opt-out letter, and we'll go through the same 30-day cycle and then be in. If you come off a third-party supply contract and you know and you want to be in quicker than that period, you can call us or the winning supplier, depending on how we've set it up with your particular municipality, and you can opt in.
So you had indicated that commercial customers would likely not opt in, but if they were inclined to do so, how would they have the information of what the potential savings would be?
Well, the first thing is that there are very few sizable commercial customers that haven't done something already, right? So the commercial customers that want to opt in would have to find it on a website or through some communication from the municipality. Again, I can't imagine they're going to want to opt into something that will be held for 30 days.
I have a question. Under the responsibilities on this, you indicate that it's Good Energy's responsibility to educate the public and that you would pay costs associated with it.
Absolutely.
Could you just tell me about some of the things you've done in the past with other
Sure.
municipalities?
Sure. So, every municipality is different. Some say, hey, you've got to go speak on this television station and go to these 4 firehouses and some. At a very minimum, we're going to mail something to every resident. And you have to tell us when during this process that you want that done. Seems like every municipality's got a different view on that as well. So at a minimum, there'll be hard mail. There'll be television, there'll be radio, we have a whole website, which I know we weren't allowed to automate today, but it's called NJGEA, so New Jersey Government Energy Aggregation. This would be put on your site. It has all the FAQs, where you need to call. So through various forms of media, we do Facebook, we do Twitter, and certain things work better in certain places, and then in some places we just do a lot of stump speeches. And at Middletown you need to have some big public hearings at a certain building, or you need to go to the county fair, then that's what we do. So there's a whole operations and marketing team. I didn't bring anybody else here today. There's an executive selling this. I run the programs. There's an operations marketing support, and they're right in New York City.
Thank you.
I have a question, or just a clarification. For the average homeowner, other than the fact that they'll be sent a letter and given an opportunity to opt out, And other than the fact that they'll presumably see a lesser electric bill for a
Right.
time, what else changes for them? Does their bill come from somewhere else?
Okay, great, very good point.
Bill look different?
Nope.
Does their service look different if they have a problem? Do they call somebody different? Does anything change for the average homeowner?
Okay, so some of the things that have made this very attractive, because this has been here since 2003. One of them was that they changed the whole opt-out, and that was, Richmond, New Jersey, and a whole bunch of communities tried this about 4 or 5 years ago. And the interpretation by the attorneys and the BPU at the time was to actually go through the opt-out period, they had to go and essentially notify everybody by knocking at the door. Well, they said, okay, we're done. That's not going to work. One of the other things that is new and in this is utility consolidated billing. So all of the residents are going to receive a JCPO bill that looks primarily the same. In the supply section, a lot of those little line items will be collapsed. It'll say it'll be your new supplier is Direct Energy and your price is X. So they're not going to be getting 2 bills. They're going to be saving $150 a year, we'll say that conservatively. And that's it. You don't have to do anything different.
Essentially, if a residential customer isn't aware of the program,
Right.
doesn't, never opts out,
Right.
the worst thing that's going to happen is that they will see no change to their bill and they'll save $150 on it.
Right. And if they want to get out, and once they've called and figured out that they've really got a great deal, they'll probably say, well, I actually want to stay in.
So for people that aren't informed about anything that's going on in town, they'll see their residential energy bill go down.
What we find is that there are certain people that want to be just not in the program. And they're not going to be in it because they're just going to opt out from the beginning because they're following it. There is a spike of communication with your municipality, even if we're in front of you. They're still going to get around us in the beginning, and there's going to be a spike. And once the program's running, it just dies down. And they get their bills a couple months in, and they're very happy.
Since you've done the program before in other states, are there any obstacles that you've had to overcome or your companies had to overcome that you've fixed?
Right. Okay. So the biggest challenge can be this is big government. Why are they doing this for us? And I essentially you have to reframe this argument. Government is what you've always been getting. You've just been getting an arbitrary purchase by the 4 New Jersey utilities that set your rates. And here we're a lot more nimble. This is a municipally responsible exercise here with very competitive market forces. A lot of the same companies that are marketing all your people now are going to come down over a penny to bid on this because they know they're going to get 95% of some huge block of residents.
Is there an optimal time to get into the program, starting from now?
I mean, from weather and historical
No,
analysis.
I just mean,
Rate change.
from a rate change standpoint, is there,
Marketplace.
do you
Well,
want to be in by
right now
June, do you
there-
want to be in by August?
Yeah, so right now there's significant savings. If you passed your ordinance in your second meeting in April, you'd be in July, right? And we have significant savings right now. So I'm looking at it as we know what it is through September of 14. So it's how many of those months can you capture? And then we'll know a lot more information in the first quarter of next year. So we may know what the non-summer months are and where that rate is to be.
Ryan, does this go get through as a professional service, being that obviously we're not paying the fee, but we're hiring a consultant?
Yes, through the cooperative, so I think it would be more like a state contract type situation. We wouldn't have our own, but the cooperative does its bidding for the providers as we did in the last year, correct? So it's just like a state contract work, so we just pass orders that just piggyback on whatever bids were received and accepted by the
We wouldn't actually
cooperative.
need an ordinance, we just need a resolution.
Just a resolution authorizing.
With the notification to the residents, notifying them they have a 30-day opt-out period, knowing that they're not penalized if they opt out later, is it identified in the letter that they can opt out later without a penalty? Or how do they figure that out, say in 3 months, that they decide they want to opt out?
It's not actually, it's not written in the letter. The letter is a standard BPU document. It doesn't mention that. But if they call into your municipality or they get a hold of us through our, call assets, we'll tell them, if you want out, you're out. But once they've explained what their rate is and the bill has been shown and they can see what the current JCPL rates are, well over 90% of those will stay in. And there'll be very few of those.
Anybody have any other questions?
Actually, can I ask a question?
Open up section.
Yeah, but once you leave, it's kind of relevant.
This is not,
Yeah.
This is a presentation.
Presentation of the committee, isn't it?
Point of personal privilege.
There's no points of personal privilege from the public. Only the township committee can make
It has
points
to
of
do with
privilege.
people who have
There's not a
solar
public
panels.
comment it's not public comment right now. You
Okay.
can save it for public comment. You can go to their website, ask questions. I'm sure the gentleman would be more than happy to hang around and answer questions.
Will you be here?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, here we have. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is public hearing on ordinance 2013-084, an ordinance authorizing the sale of block 869, block 7501, 7502, and 7503, Unity Road.
Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on ordinance number 2013-3084? Seeing no members of the public come forward, I'm going to close the public portion and move for adoption.
Committeemen Fiore,
Yes.
Committeemen Settembrino, Deputy Mayor Murray. Yes. Committeemen Settembrino.
Yes.
And Mayor Schaffner.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt ordinance 2013-084.
That'll be, we'll have, next meeting, so we'll have a resolution authorizing to set up the auction for those lots.
Next is public hearing on ordinance 2013-082, an ordinance of the Township of Middletown, County of Monmouth, amending Chapter 16, Planning and Development Regulations, ABFE.
Are there any members of the public who would like to speak to ordinance number 2013-3082? Seeing no members of the public come forward, move to close the public portion and move to adoption.
Second.
Committeemen Fiore,
No.
Committeemen Massell, Deputy Mayor Murray. Yes. Committeemen Settembrino.
Yes.
Mayor Schaffner.
Yes.
Motion carries that the ordinance has not passed.
I'd be happy to reintroduce the ordinance if you, or to re-vote on the ordinance at the next meeting, but I asked specific questions of the planning department about this at the last two meetings, which were still gone unaddressed by me, and I will not vote for it until I hear those answers.
Actually, Committeemen Fiore and I brought that.
What was the question?
About the elevations, I thought that the state was mandating this. Why are we mandating this after the state passed those standards? I still have not gotten a clear answer of why we have to vote on this yet. Until I do, I'm not going to give the answer.
Well, why don't we carry it to the 15th?
And you have to introduce not to vote, unless you want, somebody wants to make a motion, send that vote and then carry.
Do we have to reintroduce a revised version?
Well, you could do an amended I mean, well, action's already been taken, it's already been killed, this version, so you could make a motion to rescind that, re-vote and make a motion to table.
I'll make that motion to rescind the table to the April 13th meeting pending information that has been requested by Committeemen Settembrino and myself.
So then there would be a motion on the floor to rescind that vote and table, and then a second is Mr. Settembrino, and then a vote.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Committeemen Fiore,
Yes.
Committeeman Michelle. Deputy Mayor Mary. Yes. Committeeman Settembrino.
Yes.
And Mayor Schaefer.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries to table the ordinance for further discussion on April 15th. Next on the agenda, we'll have a consent agenda for resolution 13-10 through 13-117, including 3 bingo and raffle applications.
Move for adoption?
Second.
Committeeman Fiore?
Yes.
Committeeman Michelle? Deputy Mayor Mary?
Yes.
Committeeman Settembrino?
Yes.
And Mayor Schaefer.
Yes.
I just wanted to point out that resolution 118 has been removed from the agenda. That was reauthorizing a rider to the regional health contract. Motion carries to adopt the consent agenda. Excuse me. May I have a motion to adopt resolution 13-109, authorizing the payment of bills for April 1st, 2013?
Move for adoption?
Second.
Committeeman Fiore?
Yes.
Committeeman Michelle? Deputy Mayor Mary? Yes. Committeeman Settembrino?
Yes.
And Mayor Schaefer.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt resolution 13-109. Next is the agenda items for April 15th. There are proclamations and appreciation certificates. First one is proclamation declaring April as National Day of Prayer 2013. Presentation of 2013 e-Government Award by Monmouth University Polling Institute. Presentation of the 2013 Safety Award from the Monmouth County Joint Insurance Fund, and a proclamation which has been added, Municipal Clerks Week, May 5th through 13th. There will be approval of minutes for February 4th executive session, February 19th regular meeting, and February 19th executive session. There will be a public hearing on proposed ordinance 2013-3086, ordinance to exceed municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap for NJSA 40A 4-45.14. And that was, that was introduced on March 28th. There are no introduction of ordinances that I know of for next April 13th agenda.
You may have a few, if that's what you want to see on it. So
We will.
okay.
And the name of that ordinance?
It'll be capital ordinance for
Field
improvements.
Field improvements and maintenance.
Field improvements.
And a consent agenda, resolutions, bingo and raffles, volunteer firefighter application. And for discussion for tonight's meeting, item A is an amendment to the code for the bus parking lot locations.
Yeah, if I could, this has come up sort of as a result of an issue over a trip and fall at one of the parking lots, but in looking at our code, it really needs to be updated with regard to our parking lots. For those maybe don't recall, a number of years ago, the township received some DOT grant funding to create commuter parking lots. And they're primarily up and down Route 36, and they have a sign on them. And of all the lots, only 2 of them are township lots, township-owned properties. That's at Thompson Avenue and Route 36, and Wilson Avenue and Route 36. Those properties were both acquired by the township. There were a number of other locations where the township entered into a lease agreement with the property owner, and the basic agreement was the township would apply to the DOT for funding to improve the lots. In most cases, these lots were kind of in poor condition. So we actually got funding from DOT for several $100,000 altogether to pave the lots, restripe the lots, in many cases light and landscape the parking lots. There was a minimum, I believe it was a 10-year lease period, and the way it worked was that the owner of the property had to keep it available for commuter parking for that period of time, with it depreciating. If they terminated the lease, let's just say after 3 years, they would have to pay back 70% of the money that was spent on their property. Once you got to the 10 years, it was zeroed out essentially. So they were all well beyond that. But over time, some of the lots have sort of gone away. The one at Appleton and Route 36 is now Wawa, and that parking lot ceased many years ago. The one at Jacques is really not very heavily used at all anymore. There's one on Morris Avenue, just off of Main Street behind Belford Independent Fire Company. That's been taken back over by the fire company, and they utilize that lot. So basically what we need to do is to update this ordinance with the proper lots. We probably have to renumber them, and probably have to change the signs because now they'll be out of order. But they meet our needs for now. We don't really need these other lots. But we just need to clean the ordinance up and make sure it's up to date. And that's really what this is all about. And it kind of came to light over an incident at one of the lots.
The next item is firework applications.
Yeah.
This isn't what I think.
No, and actually, we're going to carry this to the May meeting, but the Fire Prevention Office has received some requests for some specific properties. Navasink Country Club have a fireworks display every year. There's also 2 other properties that have applied. I wanted to put them all together and discuss them with the committee because they need a permit, but I don't have them all yet.
Are they residences or?
2 residences and 1 is Navasink Country Club, I believe, yeah. And so when I have them, all 3 of them together, we'll bring them in to discuss with the committee, just so you're aware of this. Yeah, they're fairly routine, but there is, just so you're aware of them, there's some issues associated with potential impacts. Well, yeah, the people who have them usually pay for those social things. It's just sort of an awareness thing to make people know, because they're not always on 4th of July. Sometimes the day before, sometimes the week before.
When is the 4th this year? Thursday?
I didn't even look, actually.
What do you say?
So we'll discuss this one in May. Yeah, they're all sick, man.
Allergies.
Next on the agenda is item C, recreation inclusion of special needs summer programs.
You probably have in your packet some information on that. I'm going to let Janet explain. I think this is a great thing, and I'd like her to explain what we're doing this year as part of our already pretty popular summer recreation program, but now it's going to be that much better.
Sure. Last year, 2012, we did.
Despite the Phillies shirt, we're going to let her.
However, they are losing, much to my disappointment. Sorry for the update.
Misery loves company.
Sorry. In 2012, we received some phone calls from parents of children with special needs asking if they can be admitted into our summer recreation program. And at the time, we didn't really have anything set in place. So through the past few months, I've talked with the Mount Friendly Park System as well as other municipalities in the area, trying to develop what our inclusion program would be. I sat down with Robert Dunn with the Board of Ed, who's the District Director of Student Services, as well as a few other people from the Board of Ed to kind of discuss what their extended school year program would be and what our hopes of our program would be. It's not to take away from the extended school year by any means. It's more or less to complement it. Their extended school year program primarily deals with children of lower functioning special needs. Ours will hopefully be a program to include children that are higher functioning, focusing more on social behaviors, different, working as a team, learning different skills each week as far as being able to win, being able to lose, and more so not the actual classroom setting. So that's what we're actually going to be doing. We are very excited about it. Because it is our first year doing it, we did decide that we will be needing to do a cap on the program and also offering it only at one of our location sites. So we're hoping it's going to go well, and I think it'll be great.
Jen, is the age range the same as the other programs you're on?
Yes, it's going to fall in line exactly with what we did. We actually are adding this year to a pre-K and a kindergarten option, so we still will have that for that as well. It'll also be for the grades 1 to 4, 5 to 7, and then 8 to 9.
So it's a parallel program with special needs?
Yeah, it's just really just to complement it, and I really wanted to make sure the Board of Ed was on board and didn't want them to think that I was trying to step on their toes by any means. And I did hire one of their school psychologists to be our inclusion director for the summer.
Which location?
It'll be at the Bayview location. Bayview Elementary School right now has one of the bigger programs for this special needs program as it is.
Might mention all the locations because there's been some changes to where we typically have had our summer rec.
Right, with the Board of Ed, they're doing a lot of programs, a lot of construction projects this summer, so we actually had to alter our program location. So this year, we're going to be at Bayview Elementary School and also Lincroft Elementary School. We're still going to be using the Tiny Keller Community Center, which houses our Just for Toddlers program as it is, so that's where our pre-K and kindergarten option, which is brand new this year, well, that camp will be based out of there because that's where our preschool is anyway. We're pretty much set up for that. We did also add to a Teen Adventures program, which is basically, it's strictly trip-based. That's going to leave and return from Bodman Park. It's just where the buses are going to pick them up, and they meet twice a week.
And so the biggest change is, you know, we've always had Thorn, Harmony, and Thompson, Nut Swamp as two major locations, but those were both unavailable this year because of school construction projects. So we really had to change things around and come up with some different locations. They're just as big and just as accessible, so it's not really going to be a drawback other than it's just not exactly what people become used to over the years.
Right. Hopefully over next year, we'll be back to the regular sites that we usually are.
And the school has been fine with working with the locations and everything?
We worked it out. Yeah, they have their extended school year program, and they also have their summer reading program. I think of the 17 schools, there's 5 that are open and available to be used. The other 12 are closed for the different projects. So between their programs and our programs, we met maybe 2 months ago or so, and we kind of ironed out which schools are going to be for which program.
So I guess this question might be for you, Mrs. Janet, but the last few years, these summer rec programs with, you know, Janet changing things around have been revenue neutral or revenue positive, I believe. So with the change that we're making to, you know, add this additional program, that still shouldn't change, correct?
It was revenue positive last year, and it will be even more so this year.
I was asking your questions.
All right, thanks, Joe. I knew you did, right?
Next on the agenda is the printing service. I believe it's an award bid that will be coming up. And there's also one, the last item is the capital list of projects.
That's the list you should have in front of you. Proposed roadway drainage concrete projects for this year with estimated costs for each location.
Ted, the Tinch Avenue drainage improvement seems to be the largest, one of the largest outside of Murphy Road.
Right.
I think I know what that is, but can you explain to that to me a little bit better?
Sure, that's it's a section of roads between it's a drainage line between Leonardville Road and Highway 36 that drains the upstream properties, Croydon Hall, travels under Leonardville Road, goes through these side streets, Tinch Avenue being one of them, and then drains underneath Highway 36. And part of the problem with that area was that the pipe under Highway 36 is undersized for that drainage area. And Rob can speak to this problem, but this probably precedes both of us, actually.
So that's those properties like Hosford over there, off there, that were cleaning for yards?
Well, actually, that actually
different
goes the other way. That's in a different watershed, believe it or not. But it's the same hill.
This is the one where the people who complain that the drainage from Beacon Hill Country Club comes across our Leonardville Road and floods their properties.
Oh, okay, I know.
Right, right. And Tinch Avenue runs parallel to Leonardville, between Leonardville and 136. Our system there is definitely undersized and needs to be replaced. There's some paving work that has to be done with that. Structures, however, it seems like a small section, but it's a fairly complicated project. And this sort of ties back into the problem with the streams as you head towards the bay that we discussed recently. However, the main restriction of the flow from this area will be the highway, the pipeline of the highway.
Ted, pending the budget approval, of course, the listed on other improvements is the Middletown Library parking lot extension and the Shadow Lake hydro raking.
Yes.
So that will be funded with this capital program. Do we have any type of projected timeline for that?
Again, with the hydro raking, we'd have to get, obviously that takes place I think in May and June. And the parking lot extension of the library would fall into line with the other projects.
The road program.
Right.
This is not going to wait for the budget adoption. If you look at the budget, we have a couple items in the back under the capital section. That's going to be included with this as well. This is on there. The fields are on there. There's a couple other items, and they'll be on a bond ordinance probably. If not next meeting, the week meeting after. I don't know if this is finalized yet to get on there.
No, Rob and I are probably
within the next 2 meetings, it'll be on with all the other capital items for the year.
So it'll be completed to get to the number that's in the budget. Cap number. They can't include in the fields because this.
Right.
The field will be a separate ordinance, but that's going to start next meeting.
And the hydro raking, Rob, does that have to be done at a certain time of the year?
Typically, you want to do it in the early part of the season before the growth. I think that's why Ted was saying May-ish.
End of May and June is the target.
So we should do it then or not for this year?
Right.
Okay.
Well, you can do it later. I mean, there's no harm. This is harvesting, so you're still going to remove all that growth and actually gets down to the roots, pulls them out of the roots. But that's something we can do fairly quickly. Obviously, there's no design with that. That's just something we put a bid in, have somebody come in and do it.
Seems to be the earlier you do it, the more square footage you're going to cover.
Right.
Because you're going to be pulling out less volume of debris.
It's like leaves. Cut a tree down, you're not going to have hardly going to have any leaves to break up.
All right.
I could just mention a couple of discussions that aren't on there yet. But well, one thing I want to mention is tonight, thanks to the committee for getting the resolution done on the dune protection easement, which the DEP required in short order, and to allow the Army Corps and the state to move forward with the beach and dune repairs in that project along the coastline with the Raritan Bay. The other thing I wanted to mention is, I briefly mentioned before, after you adopted the ordinance, would have for the next meeting the resolution authorizing the auctioneer, Span, to do those property auctions. I think they have a auction they're preparing for May, middle of May, so that we can get those out on the block and get those properties sold in time and under contract in time for the budget. The other item I would want to mention is that we should, at the next meeting, have both, we had a meeting last Friday or Thursday or Friday with Sloan Kettering. We should have 2 items in relation to that. One, accepting certain conservation easements on the portions of the property, as well as authorizing the tax agreement with Sloan. And that's for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Township committee comments.
Settembrino.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We're missing one.
I just wanted to reiterate my comments and commend the administration at our budget introduction for all their work, and the CFO as well, for getting our introduced budget to a 2.2% increase all in, with $500,000 annually for the next 5 years of unanticipated expenses due to Superstorm Sandy, a rateable base reduction of north of $68 million on a $9+ billion rateable base total. It is a testament to the hard work of the CFO and the administration that we can achieve such a nominal increase with unanticipated expenses, and that increase reflects a 75% FEMA contribution. If we're able to achieve more, that increase will be lower. And what's very important to note is, although we're noting a 2.2% budget introduction increase all in, without the Superstorm Sandy expenses, the increase would have been 1.14%. So that's very important to understand. And once again, I think it was an excellent job by our administration and our CFO to get to that position. And we look forward to reviewing it to see what other savings there are as we move forward. That's all I have this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Fiore. No comments this evening. Okay. Deputy Mayor Murray, you're up.
I'd just like to mention this Ice Tree School. I had visited them last week. They are finally, they were actually flooded out during Superstorm Sandy. They were out their building for 6 months. They're finally back in. They're thrilled to be back, and I'm just very happy for them. I just like to mention them because it's a good sign. It's heartening for the community to know that people are trying to move on with their lives and looking to find a new home.
That's it. Okay, thank you. Just a couple of things. I attended an Eagle Scout ceremony about a week or so ago. Mr. Settembrino, and an Eagle Scout. Once an Eagle Scout, always an Eagle Scout. Okay. So, very impressive group of young men, 4 Eagle Scouts at the ceremony. Just tremendous. Tremendous work on their projects. And actually, I was going to Canes Lane the other day, and I saw a group of Eagle Scouts doing some work over at the first aid station there. So. There's a bumper crop coming up right behind these fellows, and it's really a great thing to see. Earlier that day, I know a few of us, Deputy Mayor Murray had gone to the convention in Colts Neck, where Governor Christie was nominated for his 2nd term, and it was really impressive to hear the governor speak. He becomes more impressive with each outing, and it's just such a thrill to have him not only leading the state, but also running for a 2nd term. And as for the budget, I'm going to echo Mr. Settembrino's sentiments. I've gotten more calls from other towns saying, how did you do it? And other towns who may not have been even shore towns who are going to come in higher, much higher than we did. So again, a hat tip to everybody involved, certainly the administrator and CFO and everybody who's done such a great job, Mr. Maloney and the rest of the department heads. It really is a credit, and it just goes to show what happens when you plan ahead, you know, for tough times, and you always do this, and you're able to weather these storms a little bit better than the next guy who maybe not be so diligent. So it's really a great thing to behold, and we're very lucky. And with that, that's all I have to say.
Any comments?
Okay, I'd like to remind everybody to please keep your comments strictly to 5 minutes. We will enforce the 5-minute rule, and be sure to give your name and address. With that, what's your pleasure? Yes, sir.
My name is Mika Starik, and I live on 5 Texas Avenue in Port Mahomet. And I have a question about the Superstorm Sandy. We got hit very hard in the area where I live, and it's all tidal water from the creek. And in 1970, there was a wall built on the other side of the creek to prevent flooding of the other side of the town. All the water is pushed to our side of the town. When is that going to repair? This was supposed to be done years and years over. The money was always spent, and not this. This is all tidal. When can we control the creek? because that water is coming all from the creek. I got 14 feet of water on my house. There's several houses totally wiped out, people cannot move in. There's about 30 houses affected over there, and nothing's being done over there, completely nothing's being done over there to control this flooding. When is this gonna be looked at?
Ted, you asked the federal project.
This, I don't know if you want to speak
Well,
about the federal
yeah, I
project.
mean, the dike project, the dike that you're talking about functions the way it's supposed to be, it's supposed to function. It's not supposed to keep water from accumulating in Port Monmouth, it's supposed to keep water from accumulating on the other side, in
Yes.
North Middletown.
That's correct.
The project was recently announced that appears to be moving forward, according to the federal government, is they're going to be doing a similar project for Port Monmouth, the one that has been discussed for 15 years or more.
30 years.
Well, it's been real for about 15, they actually started putting money aside about 15 years ago. And it was never going to happen, really. It was never going to happen if the hurricane hadn't occurred. Because with Sandy happening, it caused Congress to pass this relief act, $51 billion or whatever it was. And a portion of that money is apparently $91 million of that is going to be allocated to actually completing the Port Monmouth flood control project. So there will be a new dike system built, a new pump station built, new floodgates built, and they estimate it'll take about 6 years to complete, but it is going to start finally.
Yeah, but in the meantime, you can't control the creek?
No.
The creek?
No, in the meantime, we can't control the creek. I mean, that's exactly why they're building this. We can't control it. The only thing we can do, and we've applied for money to dredge out some of the creeks so that they don't have as much silt in them, so that they can hold a little bit more water. But if we happen to get funded for that, that will help a little bit. But we can't control the creek now.
Tony, what was the federal funding number?
91 million is what the estimated cost is.
It's a project that the municipality doesn't have the funds or the ability to do on our own, which is the reason why.
I understand that, but I was told the exactly same story 30 years ago. When I was
Well, you weren't told exactly the same story.
When I was sitting in front of this board, and I was asking about it 30 years ago, and every year they tell us the money is spent someplace else.
That's not true.
Well,
the money was never ever put aside. It wasn't that it was spent somewhere else. It was never allocated for the project. And if it hadn't been a hurricane last October, it still wouldn't be allocated for the project. You'd still be waiting another 15 years. So the only way this project is becoming a reality is because there was a storm in October. And that's a fact. And the money's been designated for this project from what we've been told by the federal government.
So for the next 6 years, the family that lost their houses over there just gonna have to wait and can move back in.
Everyone in Port Monmouth is in the same boat.
Not everybody. Not every area. It's about 30 houses over there that are affected strictly by this creek.
That's
There's nobody else in Port
no,
Monmouth.
that's just your neighborhood.
I'm on dry side of the
I know where
highway.
you are.
Yeah.
But the other side of Route 36 is significantly affected by the hurricane, and they're all have to wait too. It's not just your 30 houses in your neighborhood. It's all of Port Monmouth that was affected. They're all going to benefit from it, but everyone has to wait and hope we don't have any more bad occurrences between now and the time the project's completed.
The key at this point, I think, is to make sure that the congressman of the district who has announced this funding doesn't let the funding not make it to completion this time. And I think we've heard that story before about the funding. But ultimately, it's Congress and Congressman Pallone, who's your representative, the representative of Port Monmouth, I should say your representative, the representative of Port Monmouth, who has announced this program. And I think the goal is, and I'm very hopeful that with everything that's happened, that this will not be lip service again, that this money won't go to Manasquan or somewhere else when it should have been here 30 years ago or 20 years ago, to your point. So what delayed it? I'm not going to get in the middle of what delayed it federally for 20 years. I don't think they operate too well in Washington. I don't think we'd all agree about that. But the key now is to contact the U.S. senators, the congressmen, and make sure that this money that they say that we're going to get, that we actually get it now.
Okay, but my question is, what is the township committee is going to do? Is it going to help out the people to fight for them to get something done?
Absolutely. We're helping get petitions to do that. We've been in contact with Congressman Pallone, not just now, but for years before. I know the administration has been in major contact. we want this just as much. I mean, there's not just, you know, Texas Avenue, but, you know, Brainerd and Monmouth, and, I mean, there are certain things we can do that we've tried to do for tidal flooding measures, as you know, that have helped for tidal flooding, but when you get a massive wall of water to come through that creek, that's a federal project that's going to take, you know, Army Corps of Engineer work, and that's what's necessary, and that's why we need to keep the pressure on to make sure that we're not forgotten. This time we've been forgotten for too long. I couldn't agree with you more.
Just so you're aware, Mr. Mercantante lost his house also, so.
From that
I understand that, but I'm just saying this is going on over and over, and just as
but that's
all
the best.
tidal water in the creek would be controlled somehow. You will not get a drop of water, and that's this side of the highway, because the wall on the other side, all the water was pushed to this side of the properties and flooded it because of the wall. If the wall wasn't there, probably we would have got a couple feet of water. Not 14 feet of water.
This is
You really would have gotten flooded anyway, but it was just so much
but
more.
not so much.
Yeah, but we would have had thousands of other houses flooded that didn't get flooded at all.
But that doesn't mean any good.
Well, it's not all about you, though. It's about the community.
No.
But that's the best course of action is that we as a committee have to keep the pressure on the congressional leaders and the Senate leaders to make it through with this money that they've promised and allocated, that they've promised would be allocated. Now, that's, any one of us had the power to enforce it, you'd see an ordinance right now.
I understand that, but I think we need some kind of help from somebody else because we can make that happen.
No, you're 100% right.
Just so you know, Tony Fiore and I have gone down to DC twice on our own nickel. And went to each one of the representatives, both senators and both congressmen.
And hired lobbyists to do it.
Hired lobbyists, everything to do.
Is there going to be any type of meetings that people from Township can get involved?
There was one recently, and there's a community
nobody
group.
knows about it.
There's a community group in Port Monmouth that we can put you in touch with that is actively getting signatures.
But wouldn't this be more to the people? I talk to the people around my neighborhood. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody's being informed about any of this. No flyers are going out, no newspaper clippings, nothing's going out. People know so they can attend these meetings and put their voice up.
It was advertised.
Where?
I'm sorry. There's advertised, Christina, correct me if I'm wrong, you had it in the patch?
Yes, they did post in Patch. It's an internet news site. Perhaps you don't know it, but...
Well, we know the internet, but how, you know, people need to go constantly to the internet to look at it. There should be some kind of outreach to the people because they want to attend. I talk to the people. They say where, when.
Well, I think they had a good turnout. So
two items at the meeting that was had about a week or so ago.
Maybe the other side of the highway they might advertise it. Where we at, that's like a forgotten community. On that side of the highway. Fort Mammoth, where I am at, the Texas Avenue, that's like forgotten community.
So there are two things. At this meeting, there were somewhere between 200 and 300 people in attendance at the meeting. And the main reason for attending the meeting was signing a petition to press Congressman Pallone to execute what he said he will do. In addition to that, Assemblywoman Handlin, I don't think she has it up yet.
She does.
It's on her Facebook.
It's on her stuff.
She is going to place a link to signing the petition so that you don't have to go to a meeting. You'll be able to get on and sign it that way so that we can increase the number of signatures and pressure on the congressman to actually get the money spent to get the projects executed.
But in the meantime, we are in contact with Congressman Pallone's office weekly, if not daily, to try and pressure them to keep it up, not that it just falls by the wayside.
How many meetings have you had with the Army Corps thus far?
We've had 2 in the past 4 weeks, and I spoke with Congressman Pallone's office today.
So we are pushing for it. You're preaching to the choir here, so we're with you. And we're going to do everything we can to pressure and make sure that this happens once and for all.
Well, I think somebody maybe should visit the neighborhood there and talk to them and tell them, because everybody is so depressed. So, I mean, people can't even return to their houses. There's 4 houses that are older people, retired people. They can't even return to their houses. They're completely gone.
If you want, we're out of time now, but if you can give us your contact information before we leave, we can
That's a good idea.
deputize you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else care to speak? See, Leo.
Leo Christopher, 121 Cranberry Court, River Plaza. In the Cap Bank number 6 agenda, item 6, has the this committee ever monetize the set aside in a cap bank and the current budget or the previous 2 years or 5 years, whatever? Have you ever monetized that in percentage in a budget or actual cash? Or both?
It's not actual cash at all.
Have you monetized it in percentage
For what reason?
in a later budget, annual budget?
I'm not sure what you're referring to monetize it. It's not.
Well, that's
it's not
a John
money.
Corzine word. I got it from him. You make that which is not money, you make into money, whether it has commodity backing or not.
Well, I'm not the Federal Reserve, so I can't make that happen. But and it's not even dollars. It's a limit. All it does is increase the limit. It's not a dollar that we can grab on. There's no money anywhere. It's a limit. You know, if you have a credit card and your credit card says you could spend up to $10,000, and then you go and get this special. You call up the president of the credit card company. He gives you a special amount to go up to $15,000. You only do that if you go up to $15,000. You get to you purchase something for the extra $15,000. You can or 15.
Well,
we're not using it. It's not a monetary value to the residents or anybody.
I must be contentious to clarify. Why do you need a cap bank if you can in no way monetize the percentage that's set aside? I don't understand why we're going through this exercise unless it lets something else happen financially, economically within the budget. That's a mystery to me.
Okay, our budget's $66 million, right? That's what we have in appropriations. Inside the cap, it's about $49 million, right? So the $49 million can only go up to X amount of dollars. If we need to go above it, okay, for whatever reason, I can't give you a reason right now, don't know one. But let's say we had to go up for some emergency or some reason that wasn't a federal emergency or a state emergency where it was outside the cap. The bank allows us to continue to operate and go over that amount. But within the whole budget, it'll be part of your tax bill. It's not like they give us $3 million to hold on to in case we need it. It's a limit that we can go over. Right now, we can't go over the 49 million of items within the cap. So what this will do is if in the future something should happen, it will allow us to go over. Why do we do it? Because I don't know what the future is going to happen. Yeah?
I think 565 municipalities in the state of New Jersey do the exact same thing as a matter of routine.
It'd be bad business to not do it.
Last year, nobody knew we were going to get hit with one of the worst storms that hit this country. I mean, it's not just one of the worst that hit New Jersey. So you don't know what's going to happen next year that will be isolated just to Middletown or just to any other town, and that's why you need that bank.
Leo, it's just a contingency, and we do this. We've done this since the cap has been in place.
Does it allow you to borrow in an emergency?
No.
Okay. The gentleman from Good Energy, just give you a comment, if you permit me, please. Committeeman Fiore expressed what I experienced too. I have vendors calling me on the phone, which I suspect is illegal, but I don't know that. And they also send in letters, and they say we can get you cheaper energy more cheaply. It seems the man that spoke here, seemingly articulate and all that. Nonetheless, you could have a mask because I'm ignorant, therefore I'm skeptical. It seems to me that what he's saying is we can sell this at bulk. And because we're selling it at bulk to 10% of the 22,000 houses,
90%,
or 90% of them, whatever it is, he can get a cheaper rate for bulk. But yet he said, along with that, we will do all that a private vendor will do. We'll get in the media, which is costly. We'll get advertisements. We'll go door to door. We'll go to meetings. all that's going to cost money. So I would ask you to consider using no ordinance and no resolution to convey any unfair advantage to this gentleman and his group that he represented tonight, and let him go out and be a competitive private vendor with the others. That's my recommendation.
You can't do it that way, though. You have to, the law says you have to do it in this kind of format, because he won't be able, whoever's, whether he's the vendor or anybody else is the vendor, they won't be able to get access to the information from JCP&L with regard to rates and customers and who are already using third parties. They won't be able to get the information, so no one will be able to do it in that way.
And
well,
also
the statute sets it up.
And also the municipality cannot do it on its own without going through a county or county co-op. So it's all DPU regulation. The regulation.
Apparently Plumstead did not go through this consortium, so I'm a little confused about that.
I have regulations.
I understand what you're saying.
Keep in mind
I've never said that other municipalities make mistakes.
But they may have done it through another consortium,
Yeah,
not Middlesex.
It might have been a different co-op.
Their utility, it's not Plumstead Township, I don't believe. I think it's Plumstead Municipal Utilities Authority.
Look, if we're worried about somebody making money on this, if they weren't making money, we would be sitting here paying whatever JCP&L says. Somebody's got to make money somewhere for them to come up with these ideas. It's not all, and you know government can't do it on their own. They just won't do it on their own without the business side of the other side pushing it.
Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, the municipality or the township is the aggregator.
The aggregator.
Is the aggregator. But the aggregator then acquires a consultant to do that work either through competitive contracting or through.
No, we can't. No, you cannot. I'll show you the regulation. If I could show you the regs, the county municipality has to make the decision whether to aggregate its residents, but it has to be in conjunction going through a county or county co-op. There's actually a regulation on that, which is presumably why they're doing it through
So this
the Middlesex
municipality
co-op.
can only acquire a consultant through.
Well, we could. I mean, we could hire whoever we want to, you know, now analyze the costs and benefits, but we could not independently go out and hire somebody to do this on our own without being in conjunction with the county or county co-op.
Thank you, Lee. Anybody else care to speak? Seeing no further members of the public come forward, we can close the public portion and move to adjourn.
Yes.
I'd like to see their actuarial.
So at least you can go to